Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Conversation in Isolation with Sonia Rossi, a series of interviews with people around the world to talk about how our life has changed during isolation, how it has affected and changed us, and how are we connecting with each other during this time. I'm here today with a very special guest, Mary van der Wiel. Mary is a woman wearing many hats. She's a designer, an artist, a New Yorker, and brand storyteller, as well as chief creative officer and founder of Blackline Crazy. She's also, I'm lucky enough to say, my incredible auntie. Welcome, Mary. How are you today?
Hello, my darling Sonia. How are you? So good to join you here today.
It's great to have you here. Mary's currently living in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. What time is it? Yeah, what time is it over there?
It's 6:22 on Friday afternoon, so that means it's 9:22 on Saturday morning, right? For you?
Yes,
in
right.
Sydney.
Sydney. Yeah.
And it's 88 degrees. It's hot as anything.
Oh wow.
So it's it doesn't cool down until the sun goes down.
Right. It's just always hot.
Anyway, lovely to be with you, Sonia, on your fabulous conversation in isolation. I'm very thrilled to be here with you.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to have you here on our show for another episode. So, Mary, tell me a little bit more about you. What's your story?
Well, I'm your mother's sister.
That's right.
As you know, I was in Sri Lanka when you were born.
Wow.
Which is pretty amazing. I lived in Sydney for many years when you lived in Sydney. And then I moved to New York for many years. I lived in New York for a total of 24 years. And then I went back to Sydney. It's a long story, but then I landed in Mexico about 4 years ago because I wanted to. I've always, as you said, I've always been in the branding space. I had an agency in New York and Sydney.
Yes.
And when I landed in Mexico a few years ago, for the first time in my life, I picked up a can of black house paint and a brush and started to paint floor to ceiling. For the first time in my life, I don't know where it came from.
Wow, so you had this impulse.
Impulse, absolutely.
Yep.
And I didn't quite know what was going on. And then I suddenly had my first exhibition back in Australia, which you were there, right?
Yes.
It was an almost sold out exhibition. And I also did Blackline Crazy paintings had it printed on fabric and material. And so part of the exhibition was, besides paintings, they were retro chairs that were covered in the material. And then I really came to Mexico because I wanted to start printing the art, the Blackline Crazy. It's only black and white, of course. I wanted to print it on bags. I wanted to print it on messenger bags and totes. And I suddenly knew I could do it here. It was so much easier here in Mexico because there are many small boutique groups of people who are craft people and who hand make things, and small factories. And so that's how I started Blackline Crazy. That's
beautiful. Amazing.
Yeah, it's sort of a bit of a surprise, I have to say.
You weren't expecting to move to Mexico, I suppose. When you were living in New York, let's say, you couldn't have imagined it.
No, I couldn't have. But what happened was, after I was in Sydney for a few years, and then I went to LA, because I thought, LA is the manufacturing capital of the US. And yes. I thought I could do the bags there because I'd already had the exhibition. But I just, I don't know what happened about LA. I just came back to Mexico just for a month. And I wasn't going to stay. But then I found this crazy, wonderful studio house and garden with a skylight going right down the whole middle of the house. Yes. And I thought I can do everything here. I can have virtual clients for my branding. I can paint. I can have shows, which I did have. And I can have bags made. What could be better than that?
Amazing. It's a beautiful story. And I think you fell in love with San Miguel, I think.
I kind of did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
So,
amazing, Auntie Mary. What is Black Line Crazy?
well, it's a funny name, isn't it?
Hmm.
I've always liked. I wear black. You know, I'm a sort of a black. Well, I wear black and white, I guess. But it's just a way. It's a mindset, really. If you think about
Yeah.
it, it's a way of thinking about the world. It doesn't have to be all black, but it's sort of a bit like when you walk outside the line, life is
Yes.
more. So even in my branding practice, I help people show up in a different kind of way, or I dare them to be who they say they are instead of being pretending to be somebody else, you know. But
Right.
walking
Yeah.
outside the line for me has always been, you know, let's dare to be different. Let's dare just to be ourselves and do things that are out of the ordinary. And I started playing with black tape,
Oh,
different widths of black tape when I was in Brooklyn.
I see.
And I was having fun with black tape. And then when I came here, I just picked up that damn can of black house. So I went from black tape to painting, you know, and it's just spontaneous. It's making marks. It's mark making. You know, it's not
Yes.
very spontaneous. It's not meant to be anything but a joyful, lighthearted, spontaneous way of being. You know.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
That's amazing.
and it's the website is blacklinecrazy.com. So people can, if anybody wants to check out the loot, the Blackline Crazy loot, the bags and things,
Amazing.
or just
Yes.
get a sense of what the story is, the backstory there. It's all there. So
Wonderful,
there you go.
wonderful. It's an
Yeah.
incredible story. It really is, and it's fascinating to hear how you've gone through this process of from the tape to the black paint. You know,
Yeah.
transforming. Yeah. So tell me, talking about isolation and everything that's been happening in the last few months all over the world and also in Mexico, what has isolation meant to you? How has this changed your life? But first of all, what has it meant for you in the last few weeks and months?
Well, interestingly enough, I mean, I work from home anyway, or I work from my studio. And for a lot of people I know, actually, it hasn't changed their lives much. I mean, you go into Sydney, right, by train and work and then come home again. I mean, it hasn't changed my life as dramatically as it's changed yours, for example. I've always worked, since I've been in Mexico, in San Miguel de Allende, which is a mountain town, you know, a few hours north of Mexico City.
Yep.
It's a 15th century town, by the way, so it's no traffic lights. Well, no traffic lights in the center. When you get out, there's traffic. But so my life really, I still work from home, and I've just what I've found is that I'm reaching out more to colleagues and friends and business, you know, colleagues in the business world. So we're much more connected now, because before I used to meet them, or I'd go to New York or LA and we'd have talks.
Yes.
But now I just seem to be more on Zoom. You know, I'm getting so sick of Zoom, but we're all on Zoom, and we're reaching out and helping each other come up with new ideas for, you know, new projects, for all kinds of things, you know. So it hasn't, the actual life hasn't changed that much. But what I have missed is, you know, being in the community of friends and, you know, the cafe, that my favorite cafe, is still open because it has a huge courtyard. So, and we are allowed to be on the streets, but we have to wear masks. I mean, all the restaurants, everything is shut down, all the shops, but we are allowed to pick up a coffee. So I do get out a lot to walk, you know, in the back of where I am.
Yes.
Big box, but then I go and get my takeaway latte, Sonia, so which is allowed. And the guy there, Carlos, he wears a mask and he's fantastic. So so in many ways, my life, it's not like it's radically changed, except it's such a shock that we're all in this state of what in the hell is going on, you know?
That's right. I see. Yes. So you're working from home, but it's the socialization and it's connecting that has changed the way, let's say, you're doing that. And that's wonderful that you can still get a takeaway coffee from the
Well,
cafe. Yeah.
I think so. A few people I know are not happy about it. They think I'm crazy, but
Oh no.
I've been very, very, very mindful about it. Very mindful.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
So once isolation is over, I mean, it's very difficult to imagine that this period
Right.
will be over at some point. But what is the first thing you would love to do once restrictions loosen up a bit in San Miguel?
Well, I guess I like to celebrate with friends, you know, just be with friends, be in company and celebrate and conversamos, you know.
Beautiful.
I don't know. I just, yeah, I mean, I'm an extrovert, so it's
Yeah.
interesting that this isolation hasn't driven me crazy.
Oh, I see.
It hasn't, you know, because I still talk every day to many people. I still conversate. I mean, conversamos with people a lot. So it's not like I'm sitting here alone painting or alone, you know, but you know, I am an extrovert, so I have managed to cope. I guess that's the way of putting it.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
there's so much news and there's so much horrible news what's going on in the US and all over the world with the
Oh, yes.
terrible, terrible, you know, such loss for so many people.
Yeah.
So I actually, the one thing I wanted to do, Sonia, was I wanted to put a smile on people's faces. So I put on Instagram. This is one of the things that kept me focused when the whole thing happened. Was I put out on at Mary Vanderweel on Instagram, send me a photograph of yourself and I'll do a black line crazy drawing of you over
brilliant. Yes.
over your portrait, right? And I got a lot of people that I didn't know, and of course I'm very happy that I did one for you, Sonia.
I loved it. It was
one of my favorites,
gorgeous.
actually. People I didn't know would just send me portraits. I would download them, and then I use the Witagram app. Witagram, Witagram. It's a free app, and you can just add. You know, I would draw, you know, paint different colors, write whatever over someone's face, and then send it to them and post it.
Wow! So this is something that you've done during isolation. You've been inspired to create this.
That's what I started right away because I was doing some branding work and I was working on Black Line Crazy, you know, trying to get people to, you know, sell from the site. But I just wanted to just put, that's what I did. I said, hey, anybody out there, send me your photo and I'll Black Line Crazy your portrait.
I think it was a fabulous idea. I think that people really resonated with it. Definitely. Yeah.
So if anybody listening feels like daring me to take up the challenge again, by all means, I will.
Yes, on Instagram, Mary Vanderweel. Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that you've kept quite busy during isolation, as you were saying. It hasn't really changed your lifestyle too much. Is there anything that you've learned during this time that you've discovered?
Well, I have to say, in the beginning, it was a bit bewildering, right? Because suddenly everything felt like the rug had been pulled out from under us all, and that I would be talking with, you know, we would all be talking and trying to work out how in the hell are we going to move forward. So there was a lot of contemplation and trying to just think this through. But what were you asking? What have I learned?
Yeah.
I think I've learned, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to take the time to really go inward and do more meditation, maybe journal, do some courses, and just spend time getting a sense of, who I am, why I do what I do, why it
Yes,
matters,
yes.
why I should even give a damn, right?
Right, yes.
I really wanted it to be more reflective. I wanted to spend part of each day being more reflective and getting a sense of what I wanted to keep, so to speak, and what I didn't want to have in my life anymore. And then the other part was, reaching out and learning new things. So I have been online a lot, learning new things, programs, platforms. So I've been trying to weigh looking inward as well as looking outward, and trying to get a balance there, so that it feels like the time. Because look, it's an opportunity for us all. I mean, it's not an opportunity for people who have no work. It is an opportunity in a different kind of way, but it does offer us, each one of us, a different opportunity in how to move forward. So I guess we all have to embrace that the best we can,
Yeah, it's very inspiring how you've taken this what we can learn from isolation and how we can transform it for the better for us.
Right.
Obviously,
right.
If we have the conditions to do so, obviously we can't forget that it's been a tragedy for so many people, but we want to try and stay as positive as possible, right? So,
right.
Yeah. So, you mentioned a point about how your initial reaction was very different to how you're feeling now. Has that changed for you since the beginning of isolation and the beginning of the pandemic?
Well, I think I've settled down a little bit more. I'm not as bewildered. I mean, it's still unbelievable, right?
Yes.
To work how the world is going to settle down again. But I guess after 2.5 months, you sort of you become acclimatized, and you suddenly get into a different kind of rhythm of being in the day. So I try not to listen to. I mean, I listen to the news, but I read the news, the New York Times every morning. But I do not watch the news on television. I just can't do it.
I see.
Especially American television. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot more calmer, I guess, because I'm just focusing more on what's important and trying to make a difference and trying to help others, and at the same time trying to help. I'm going to be offering some fun branding ideas for people on Facebook Live or Instagram Live one day soon, for anybody, some ideas on how to think differently about their brand or their business. So, I mean, there's stuff like that I just want to offer people to help them get a leg up, so to speak.
Yes, well, that's very exciting to hear and inspiring as well. So, to all our listeners, please get in touch if you're interested in hearing more about this. It's amazing. Okay. And what would you say? What would be the first thing? Imagine things slowly go back to normal. What is one thing that you would love to do once isolation is over that you haven't been able to do?
Well, I would get on a plane pretty quickly. I'd want to travel.
Yes.
I have in the first right now. I was supposed to be in Australia for 2 months, and Sonia, today,
I know. Yes.
Today, the 22nd was the day I had left Sydney and I was landing back in Mexico today. And I was going to be in Sydney for 6 to 8 weeks. And I was working on promoting Black Line Crazy, and I was having pop-ups. And then I had to cancel that trip. And then I also had to cancel 2 trips to New York in January and March. So I'm going to get on a plane, Sonia.
Absolutely.
What about you?
What a coincidence today. Wow. That's
I know.
I know.
Saw that.
I feel the same. I mean, it's affected travel plans and reunions with family, that we haven't seen for a while. And I would love to jump on a plane too, actually.
I'm sure the airlines would like that too. They're really suffering right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Well, I really admire how you've from your initial reaction and disbelief and bewilderment, you said that you phrased that very well. That feeling of confusion, how you've bounced back and you've, as you said, acclimatized to this current isolation that we're going through, and found a way of keeping busy and staying connected. I think that's extremely important. Yeah.
Or staying close. I think staying close is the sweetest thing, because if we stay close with each other, we can stay deep and enrich in our relationships. I think that's pretty special.
Yes. Beautiful. So connections and keeping in touch with family and friends. This is a point that I'm really interested in talking about with people. How have your relationships changed during this time with your friends and family in Mexico and also all around the world?
Well, as I said, sweetheart, I am on the phone a lot.
Right.
or I'm on WhatsApp, or I'm on Zoom, or I'm on LinkedIn, or I'm on Skype. And I think I've reached out to people that I haven't reached out to in a long time, because I want to, and I have the desire to say hello and how are you doing,
Yeah.
So, and I have such old friends in Australia, because, we moved there. Your sister and I moved there with our father when we were 15 and 17. So, there's some wonderful friends there, and in Europe and Holland and in Italy, of course, where my sister is with her family.
Yes.
So I think I think what matters to me is really having deep conversations. There are a lot of, I just want deeper conversations, or more emotionally connected conversations that are, I mean, obviously you want fun and to laugh, clearly. Yes. Claro que sí, right?
Yes.
But, you also want, with certain kinds of people, that you can say, look, there's something I'd love to explore with you. We never worked that thing out, or we've missed each other, or we haven't seen each other for a long time. Why did that happen? Can we talk about that? So there's some lovely, it's sort of like a healing. Some of the talks I've had are quite healing. Oh. And others just very special, sweet sharing of what's going on in our lives and what's important and what's meaningful. Because what's meaningful is, the most so important now. I don't want to talk about the weather all the time. I want to talk about what's in meaningful. So
I agree completely. Yes.
Yeah.
This change in lifestyle has helped us to focus on, as you said, going inwards and meaningful connections and relationships, and
right.
reflecting as well, as you said, and talking about things that are actually really important that we maybe didn't get to when we were really busy before.
Right. No, I know. It's I remember in the beginning talking about this and saying, I want my life to change throughout this. Maybe I can be transformed. And then every once in a while I say, I check in, right? Check in.
Yes.
I think, have I actually transformed? I don't think so. I'm still. I think you can't take it that literally. You just know that consciously and emotionally, you just want to feel more. You just want to feel more deeply, or care more, because we just don't turn into different people. But there's a wonderful course that I just want to share with you, Sonia, before we might have to go. It's a free course at Yale University, and it's called The Science of Well-Being.
Oh.
And two friends of mine are doing it, and I've looked into it, and I'm going to sign up for it. I'm sorry I didn't sign up for it before, but I guess I've been, there's time to do it. But it's a terrific course on the science of well-being.
Oh.
And it's about happiness and how to feel well in your world, whatever you're doing. So I'm just sharing that with you. I'm going to check it out.
Thank you so much.
On the weekend.
Like a beautiful idea. Yes.
Well, there's so many courses available. I mean, I know people who are doing courses all day long, with meditating and.
Yes.
Anyway.
There's so many things out there that we can reach out to. So, Auntie Mary, we're getting towards the end of our conversation, but Before we go, there's a couple of things I'd like to ask you still.
Okay.
Do you think life will go back to normal eventually? Do you think that our life will be able to go back to that busy lifestyle, or it will be too difficult and it will stay, let's say, abnormal for a while longer?
I have no idea, Sonia. I have no idea. I wish I could. I have no idea. I think many. I mean, I was just reading. Well, so many businesses are going to not ever come back, which has a huge ripple effect on the workers. But there's so many different things that are going to change, and I think we all have to be kind of poised and ready and willing to sort of reframe the way we're going to move forward in our lives. And I think we're just going to be able to do that as things come up, or as changes are announced, or, as airlines start to open up. And we're all going to have to really think carefully about, or mindfully, how are we going to make the next step? Do we really want to get on a plane in August? I don't think I do. I mean, we're going to have to, who knows, sweetheart? I have no idea. So I just hope that we can all stay calm and tranquil and patient as these things evolve. Because, I mean, I wish I knew, but I don't. I really don't.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah.
What would you say? What message would you give friends listening during this time? What would you recommend? You've been very inspiring, telling us about your Instagram project of portraits and so many things we can do during this time, obviously. But what is your personal message for friends and family?
And strangers out there, and people who
strangers.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yikes. Oh, yikes. Hello, strangers. Hello, friends. No. Well, I think there's some way I think we can, using this unbelievable time, this is an unprecedented time that we're living through, and using it to dare ourselves to do, for example, one thing every day. I mean, I'm going to dare myself to do a IGTV every day soon, right? Soon. I haven't started yet. Or, every day I've been doing a different black mark, drawing in one of my big notebooks with the date. And I don't push myself. I just do sometimes it's just a black blob, a black bit of paint on a page. And I say, this is Wednesday or this is Friday. Because I think somehow coaxing out our creativity, and I know so many of us don't feel creative. We think we're not creative, but we are. It's just how just dip into your inner self and challenge ourselves without listening to that negative voice that we have sometimes, of just saying, come on, how can I express myself in a creative way today? On this day, well, it's the 22nd of May, right? Friday, the 22nd of May. What can I do today and leave a mark on this page that will remind me that I actually wanted to create or I wanted to make a creative mark just on this page. Nobody else needs to see it. Nobody else needs to know about it. But it's just that I am connecting with my inner creative self. And here's a little of my own energy and my own self. Even that to me it's just a way of, I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but I just think somehow trying to remember, because one day we're gonna look back on this time.
Yes.
And there are days that you can't remember what you did in March or April or on Sunday this day or Monday. And I think in a way have a journal of a visual thing or writing or a few words or just bullet points of how much you're hating it, right? Even
as well,
that's creative, or how much it's annoying the shit out of you.
Yes.
That's allowed. That's creative, know?
Yeah. I love that idea. I think that's an extremely good idea and helpful for so many to think creatively, think outside the box. How can we
And the outside of the book or the journal or the paper, with the papers, is my conversation in isolation with,
there we go. Yes.
inspired by Sonia Rossi.
Oh. Well, I think I have really enjoyed this conversation with you, Mary van der Wiel, and I think that it's been incredibly insightful to see how you've been living this time in San Miguel in Mexico. Really, really inspiring. So I would like to thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Sonia. I'm impressed that you're starting on this new journey of interviewing, and I just think it's so fabulous, and I think you're good at it. I did it for 4 years when I was in New York, and there's nothing. I mean, to me, interviewing people and finding out how people live their lives is terrific. So I'm thrilled, proud, and over the moon that you're doing it. And if I can help in any way, down the track, you know who to call.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be starting this journey now, and thank you for all your support and encouragement as well during this time.
Well, you're the best, sweetheart. So to everybody, yes, take care and stay safe and stay well. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And stay tuned to Sonia Rossi in conversation, in isolation. Bye.
Thank you. And Mary van der Wiel, you can find Mary van der Wiel. Her Instagram is @MaryVanderWiel, and make sure to check out her branding. Would you like to say something about your branding?
Well, can I spell my name, sweetheart?
Absolutely, yes.
It's at Mary, MaryVandE, and then WIEL. I comes before the E. It says Mary van der Wiel on Instagram. And the website for branding is, the branding work is maryvanderwiel.com, and blacklinecrazy.com is where you'll find all the bags that are flying are being, all the bags and the totes.
All your creations.
All my creations, yeah.
Yes.
And and my backstory and all my exhibitions. So
absolutely.
Take care. Thanks, Sonia, again.
Thank you so much, and have a lovely, lovely evening.
Yes.
Thank
you. Hasta pronto.
Hasta pronto. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.